Hey kids, we're back, and this is with us Nicole Matuska, and I want to tell you a little bit about Nicole. How you doing, Nicole?
Good. How are you doing?
Great, great. Really happy that you're here with us. I'm excited for the kids to learn more about you. So,
Yeah, thank you.
Nicole is the acting director, the acting U.S. director, that is, of an organization called Women Win. And Women Win is a global nonprofit organization whose goal is to use sport to help girls feel empowered and take charge of their lives and feel like they can make decisions and be people that can operate in the world. And it's a great mission. I love it. And Nicole is in a real influential position where she gets to go around the world and talk to different people and have an impact on their lives. Now, I know Nicole because I got to know Nicole when she was your kid's age. First, she came to my soccer camp at Marauder Soccer Camp in Clearwater, and was there as a camper probably from about age 8. I would think is when you first started, Nicole. Is that about right? Do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Eight, nine-ish.
Something like that. And then
Something like
Nicole came in as a camper for about 3 or 4 years, and I saw right away how smart she was and how good she was. And I asked her to work in the camp, and she worked in the camp for several years, and eventually she went on to college, Northwestern University, and has an amazing story to tell about what she did after that. So without me talking so much anymore, Nicole, Nicole, without I was going to ask you first about growing up in Clearwater and what PE was like for you, but we really shouldn't get into that without first having the kids understand what you did with your life from the time of college on. So let's take it to, what is it, 2006 that you graduated
yes.
from Northwestern? Pick it up from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I, was in my senior year in college, and all my friends were applying for jobs and kind of looking at what their next steps were. And I stumbled upon this really interesting scholarship opportunity. It's called the Fulbright, which basically gives you money for a year to go and study and do research somewhere, anywhere in the world that you want. You get to propose a country and they send you there. And for 1 year, they give you money to do research. And so I thought, how cool would it be if I could go and do research on soccer in some country around the world? That would be amazing. And so did the Fulbright Commission. They agreed with that, and they gave me enough money to go live for a year in Morocco and study soccer and play soccer and take pictures and interview soccer, female soccer players. And it was just the most amazing opportunity because it changed the course of my life. I realized that sports is such an incredible, amazing experience. And unfortunately, there's so many people, and especially girls around the world, that don't get to play. And so when I was over in Morocco, I was like, man, I really need to figure out how I can do this for my job, how I can help more girls get access and play sports, because it had such a huge, powerful impact on me. And so that's what I did. I found a job doing that.
That's awesome. That is just such a. Every time I hear the story, even though I've heard it 100 times, because 99 of those out of my own mouth, because I tell it a lot. It's just such an inspiring story that you have to tell, and I'm proud to know you. But let's talk about PE. You grew
Sure.
up in Clearwater, and I
Yep.
think you went to St. Cecilia's in Clearwater. Is that right?
I went to St.
Oh,
Patrick's,
St.
actually.
Patrick's. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Your arch rivals, St. Cecilia's.
Yes.
My bad.
No
Okay.
worries.
So what do you remember about PE class when you were at St. Patrick's?
Oh man, I think so. When I was growing up, I think it was a little probably less restrictions and more freestyle back in the day. And maybe not the way Coach Harte teaches it, because he's an excellent PE teacher. But I feel like a lot of PE classes these days are pretty dry and boring and structured. Whereas I remember our PE teacher was super creative, and we got to invent all these really fun games like fluff ball and pickleball. And I don't know, we just got to make up our own stuff, and just he let us take the lead in class. Like, he didn't have a lot of structure or games for us to play. And so, yeah, I just remember it was just so much fun and so creative, because we, as kids, actually got to make decisions about what we got to play. how we got to play, what equipment we could use, and it wasn't a lot of fancy equipment, but it was really, really fun. It was one of the most favorite parts of my day at school, I think, just because I loved sports growing up. So I always looked forward to PE.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating for you to tell that story. So, what was the name of that teacher?
Oh man, Mr. Bogota, Coach Bogota.
Coach Bogota.
Yeah,
Okay.
was one of them. We had a couple, but he was the one I think that was the one that was most creative.
So Coach Bogota set up, maybe intentionally or maybe not, doesn't matter, set up a situation that allowed you to grow and find space in not only as an athlete but creatively. Was that a fair statement?
Yeah, totally, totally. And I think it worked because everyone comes into PE class with different levels of comfort with PE. Some kids don't like to play certain sports. Some kids, are afraid to play, or just don't like doing certain things. And this allowed everyone to kind of find what they liked and move their bodies and do it in a fun, creative way. So I just remembered everyone. Our whole class really loved it.
That's awesome. That is great. I think another example of the impact PE can have. And I didn't know that part of your story. I'm really glad that you were able to tell it. You've been out to Cypress Woods, and so I don't know if any of the kids are going to remember seeing you or not. And you've seen our kids operate to music, and you've been around the world, so you have a little bit of perspective. What is your impression of the way that our kids operate with music?
Oh man, when I saw the music, I was blown away. First of all, I think it's just brilliant to do music. It just it adds so much energy. And you can't help move your body when you hear music. So even the kids who, if you don't even like to run or do anything, like you hear music and you want to move and tap and dance and spin and be silly. So I think music is incredible. And I think around the world, music is so important to different cultures in Africa, in South America. The rhythm of a drum, the sounds of music are so incorporated in everyday life and even in physical movement and sport that when I saw you all doing music in your PE classes, it really reminded me of my travels and how in certain African countries they incorporate drum circles and dancing in their in their sports activities, and kids just grow up with music in their blood, just moving and dancing, and it just brings a lot of happiness and smiles. Nobody is angry when they're dancing and listening to music. So I absolutely loved it. I think it's incredible that you all have that opportunity to do that.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that feedback. I'm curious about. Can you tell us in a little more detail, like what are some of the countries you've been to, and can you remember a situation or two where maybe there's a drum circle or a particular situation you can tell the kids about?
Yeah, for sure. So I think one of the most interesting places that I went to a couple of times was a country called South Sudan. They've been through a lot of conflict and war over the past 10, 20 years. And we had a project there that we were working with girls and their mothers, using sport to help them, better understand and experience, better cope with all of the bad things that had happened in their lives because of all the war and conflict they were a part of. And so it was soccer, actually, what they call football over there. It was football leagues and football games and practices, and the mothers and daughters got to play together. And after every single practice on this dusty dirt field, they'd all get into a circle, and the old grandmother from this village would come out and start playing your drum, and they would basically do a circle where they'd sing, beat the drum, and do dancing as a way to close out the soccer session. And it was for every single game or tournament. It was their way of coming together as two teams to kind of celebrate the ability to play, to be safe, to be healthy, and just thanking each other for that opportunity. And I just thought it was so beautiful, and that's how they ended every single session, was with this dancing drum circle.
Wow, that is so cool. We may, when we get back to school, we may have to incorporate something like that. Nicole, I'm going to put an end to the first part of the interview now, and then we'll come back for the second part.